Good evening. I'd like to call the meeting to order. This is the Monday, February 22nd, 2016 meeting of the Oxford School Committee. I'd like to start with our agenda and move to student representative Amy Rosebrooks. Amy?
This past Friday, the Oxford High Student Council held a blood drive in this room. We had an initial goal of 35 pints and 2 double reds. In total, we had 36 pints and 5 double red donors. So in total, we saved 123 lives. And that's excellent for us because the blood drive was in critical need of pints of blood. And to save that many lives, I think we did an excellent job. And our RSVP collections came back, and the top 3 things that the students really voiced about was making the bubblers work, because I know we have a few problems with those in this school, and a cleaner school, and changing the schedule next year. They really would like more advisory time. We used to have advisory 2 times a week, and now it's once every other week, so that really affects different groups in the school, so we're hoping to somehow bring that back. And finally, on March 1st, we'll be having our Spread the Word to End the Word assembly. The Student Council will be working with the Best Buddies, and the Berkshire Hills Music Group will be coming in to perform for us.
Thank you, Amy. I'm thinking, have you relayed that information about the advisory time and the schedule up to the administration?
No, we haven't.
Okay.
We just had our meeting about it today.
All right, great. Well, make sure you get that up to Mr. Tebow, and if we need to take a look at it. Thank you. Our middle school representative is, come on up. We have Sarah Kirsting Mum. Did I do it correctly?
Yeah.
All right. Welcome, Sarah.
Hi. So for OMS General Happenings, our NJHS update is that NJHS students will host the annual Cradles to Crayons clothing drive from March 28th to April 1st at Oxford Middle School. NJHS will be assisting our Project 351 ambassador, Joel White, with this project. For office updates, Spirit Week will take place at the OMS the week of March 7th through March 11th. Table Talk Pie will be supplying our school and math department with pies for Pie Day on March 14th. We will host another open house with the principal for all parents on March 16th at 9 o'clock a.m. And grade 8 will tour the Oxford High School on the morning of March 31st. OMS theater updates include Oxford Middle School will be presenting Shrek the Musical Jr. on Thursday, March 31st, Friday, April 1st, and Saturday, April 2nd. Our students are working hard rehearsing, painting, building sets, and getting costumes ready. This is our most challenging musical to date, but we are expecting it to be terrific. We hope to see you there. Math competition teams update. The newly founded math competition teams have been very successful. We have 2 divisions, one for grades 7 and 8 and one for grade 5 and 6. There are 19 members, and we are competing in the Olympiad math competitions once a month. So far, we have had 3 perfect scores in the grade 5 and 6 division: Matthew Granette, Matthew Zella, and Kyle McGowan. Ashley McGowan, Joel White, and Owen Alejandro have earned perfect scores on the grade 7 and 8 competitions. These students, along with some Algebra 1 students, competed in December in the American Mathematics competition. Earning a bronze medal were DJ Gleason and Austin Rebello. Silver medals were awarded to Samuel Kahn and Joseph Zella. Finally, the gold medal was awarded to Todd Sauter Jr. Congratulations to all of them. The grade 7 and 8 team will compete in the St. John's Math competition in April.
Thank you so much.
Nice job.
Great job.
Excuse me.
Moving along, the next item on our agenda is the approval of the minutes from our meeting held on January 25th, 2016. Those minutes were included in the packet. I'd like to entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved. Seconded?
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Mrs. Ennis?
I would like it noted that I was absent, please. I think, I'm pretty sure.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay. We will approve those minutes with the one correction. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions?
Abstain.
Let the record show that the minutes passed with 4 in the affirmative and 1 abstention. Thank you. The agenda indicates minutes from our joint meeting with the Board of Selectmen. I'm holding those till our, well, I'm just going to hold those at this time. I have to do some research because I'm not sure that we need to have minutes. We didn't really have a full meeting, so. Moving right along, the next item is under new business, surplus of motor vehicles. I'd like to invite Mr. Doobie up. Good evening.
Good evening. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Rich Doobie, Transportation Coordinator for the town. I have 5 vehicles that I'd like to declare for surplus. Old vans that we use for special education transportation for the town. All the vans are over 13 years old. They all have a large amount of rot on the bodies and on the frames. They all require a significant amount of mechanical issues as well, and these vehicles would never, ever pass admissions. They're all over 150,000 miles, all of them, and they've served the town for a good number of years.
Thank you. Dr. Garceau?
So, Mr. Doobie, for my own information, are these vehicles registered? Are we paying registration fees for them?
No, the 2 vehicles that I replaced, I re-registered, took the plates off of these vehicles and put them on those.
Okay.
One of the vehicles is still registered, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So that fee obviously will come off?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Any other questions from the committee?
Chair.
Mr. Coonan?
Thank you for coming, Mr. Doobie. Will these go to auction?
Yes. What they do is we bring them over to the town barn, and they get surplused out from there.
Okay,
They get auctioned off from the town.
okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the committee? Mr. Doobie? Hearing none, I'd like to entertain a motion to surplus the vehicles as indicated in the memo dated January 12th, 2016.
So moved.
And seconded?
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions? Any opposed? Okay, passes unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Doobie.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Richard, so much.
So if I heard correctly, we're going to have up next both of our elementary principals.
Please.
So we're going to take it a little bit out of order because we have a welcome on here, do we not? So first, before we do the Chafee School Improvement Plan update, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Garceau to introduce Ms. Sharp.
Thank you, Chairman Bitar. We are very excited to have Ms. Michelle Sharp joining us as the principal at Clara Barton. The community will remember that Mr. Baroni left us before the Christmas break. We were very fortunate to get some interest from Ms. Sharp, and she came in and interviewed with a team of teachers and parents, and Ms. Griffin served on the interview committee. She was the unanimous first choice and was agreeable to come join us and just hit the ground running as of January 4th. So we're very excited to have Ms. Sharp there. She's already created a lot of excitement around school improvement initiatives at Barton, and her staff a number of her staff are here this evening to support her in the discussion of her SIP plan. So again, welcome, Ms. Sharp.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Would any of the members of the committee like to say any welcoming words to Ms. Sharp?
Welcome.
I like that.
Well, we don't bite usually, so welcome. Thanks for coming to us this evening. And I think we're going to start with you, Mrs. Parmley. Welcome to you as well.
Thank you. Thank you. So I don't know if we have a PowerPoint for this or if we're just
Apparently we do not, so
Okay,
that's fine.
that's all right.
If you can
That's
talk us
okay.
through it.
So thank you for giving me the opportunity to update our school improvement plan to you. Before I begin, I just want to give a shout out to my advisory school council who was a huge part of this plan and in collaborating with me as we go through the year. And that is Mrs. Stephanie Latuga, Mrs. Cassandra Day, Mrs. Lisa Murphy, Mrs. Karen Ivansky, and Mrs. Sandy Granahan. So a big thank you. So as we get ready to take a look and review this, just as a reminder of our theory of action, We believe that if there is a clear focus on the effective delivery of an aligned curriculum by high-quality teachers who employ the use of student data to drive instruction, established in a community with high academic and behavior expectations, that students will be engaged and learn at proficient and advanced levels, leaving Chaffey third grade ready. So as we look at Objective 1, our Objective 1 was to improve student achievement by ensuring access to rigorous curriculum and high-quality instruction, and that falls under our red circle of strengthening our instructional core. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break this up as we go through each objective and then take a look at the initiatives and the activities that are supporting them. So under that Objective 1, was the initiative to develop that common understanding of high-quality instruction and its academic language that describes it, committing to high-yield instructional practices. So really creating a knowledge base that we're all on the same page, that we know what that looks like. So if you take a look at the different activities, I'm just going to address a few of them here. Right off the bat, DSAC has provided 2 trainings to Chaffey focused on learning targets and success criteria. So as we're going throughout the year, really looking at what we do, having a clear purpose, strategic planning, knowing where we're going, and then being able to know if children are learning what our target was. So setting up that success criteria, really looking at those I can statements. Also, we provided building-based PD on how to implement effective progress monitoring so that we're not just waiting for the benchmarking of DIBELS and fluency in their reading, being able to do that on a monthly basis with our teachers for some of our neediest students allows us to look at trends and patterns and to be able to address those. In addition, we've been doing some PD on teacher language for engaged learning through Responsive Classroom and also Teach Like a Champion strategies. And this falls under our blue circle also because what we've done is we've repurposed our staff meeting in order to provide 30 minutes and being committed to providing 30 minutes out of every hour to PD. That's based on research-based best practices. So what we're able to do is show video clips of teachers in action and be able to do kind of a video analysis and open up those conversations. Also, our administration, Dr. Garceau and I have been involved in classroom visits. We did not have the learning walks because at the higher grades, that is what they're doing, which is a more formal process with set protocols. So instead, we're going into rooms, just visiting, and being able to provide noticings to our teachers and then wonderings, and then being able to get that into their hands with a write-up within a few days, and then have a conversation about a week later, kind of getting feedback on our feedback, and trying to find out, what did they think about that? Did they agree? Did they not agree? And just being able to be a support. Also, staff are collaborating during their PLCs. PLC is a professional learning community where the main focus is looking at data to improve instruction. So teachers have been doing that, looking at item analysis. Also, our continued walkthroughs. So that is Initiative 1. Under that same objective, Initiative 2, we continue to incorporate the 3 ELA shifts into the daily instruction at Chaffey School. Excuse me, I'm going to take a drink of water. Coughing at me. This is work that we started last year and we're continuing this year. Teachers have been working really hard in order to do this. Very proud of them. They're continuing to embed those learning strategies into their daily teaching as they incorporate those 3 ELA shifts. Just as a reminder, ELA Shift 1 is that regular practice with complex text and its academic language. Shift 2, reading, writing, and speaking grounded in evidence from the text, both literary and informational, and then building knowledge through content-rich nonfiction. So they've been doing that through their close reading focus. They've been doing that through, through their top-down webs that they learned through the Keys to Literacy. So no matter when I'm coming in, I'm seeing that. I actually was just in a kindergarten classroom last week, and they had top-down webs, and it helped the students to kind of organize their thoughts and information, and it was really exciting to see that in motion. Also, as we look forward, I know grades 2 and up will be having Keys to Literacy come in and do some PD on how to answer extended response questions. And then at our lower levels, we'll be doing a writing piece that also has to do with keys to literacy. So lots of great PD happening to be able to ensure that we're getting that access to rigorous curriculum and high-quality instruction. Moving on to Initiative 3, this year we're really looking at unpacking the standards of mathematical practice. And as we're looking for this year, we're looking at mathematical practice number 1, making sense of problems and persevering in solving them. And then number 6, which is attending to precision. And what's great about this is it really is habits of the mind. And so as you look, it can cover over all different content areas. So, but we're finding that as we're looking at this, we need it to really unpack. So at the beginning of the year, one of the things we completed was we unpacked at one of our very first staff meetings, and teachers were able to come to a consensus of what that really looks like at each grade level, what it should look like, what it should sound like, and what's in motion to be able to make sure that we are, helping students to be mathematically proficient. In process also, as we move along, we have teachers meeting during their grade levels to come together and discuss. My lead our teachers are doing a fabulous job getting that conversation going as they look at assessments, common assessments, what's working, what's not, and how do we bridge the gap. And then before and after school, one of the things that we're trying to do is to make sure that we are hitting either helping students to get that support through reinforcement or through enrichment. And that was based on the data that we received from the DIBELS and MAP from the fall, using an action plan. And currently, we just had our winter testing, and teachers have now created a new action plan based on both individually, how they want to close that gap, and also as a grade level. So they have a lot of work ahead of them, and they're ready for it. Objective 2 switches over, continue to develop a data-driven culture that monitors all improvement efforts and ensures data-based decisions. So our Initiative 1 that comes under that is to really look at our data points and see if there are other ways that we can measure what's working, what's not again. So as you look at the activities in progress, our lead teachers again are having those discussions as they look at how to improve instruction. And then one of the things we reconsidered, if you take a look at Activity 2, establishing the social emotional wellness team, as we started the year, I really felt like we needed to have set protocols. However, as we got into the first couple weeks, it was very clear that kids needed things immediately, and there was no real reason to create steps and hoops for children and adults to hop through. What we wanted is we wanted to get kids what they needed and to give it to them, customize it, and get them going. And so we've moved right into that. So those decisions are made on a case-to-case basis with a conversation with the teacher. So let's see here. I apologize if I'm talking too fast. Teachers are providing exit tickets or coming up with all different ways to do formative assessments as they're looking at their data, because as we know, anything other than data is opinions. So we want to make sure that everything we do is very strategic and very purposeful at Chafee, that we're not just staying busy, that there's a purpose for it. Now, in order to provide time for teachers, which is crucial, one of the things that we're doing currently, my school counselor and myself, is we are having school-wide meetings, which can be a little bit challenging because you have your entire school body at one time. But it's crucial that teachers are given that time to collaborate and to have that discourse. So we are trying to do that. We are also trying to do what's called Kid College, where we take them by grade levels. Currently, we're only able to do that once or twice a month, with the goal is to be able to get up to 3 times a month, if at all possible. We'll see how that goes. We're working on it. All right. Okay. So we're still on Objective 2, Initiative 2, develop a comprehensive approach to measuring student growth. So as we're looking at our activities, again, the lead teachers are taking a big piece of this as they're really looking at assessment effectiveness. So what we do is when we have an item analysis, teachers are bringing a specific assessment that they've done, a common assessment, and they're going to look at certain prompts. What is it that could be tripping kids up? Could it be the language? Could it be the presentation? Are there ways that we can help students to be more successful? So there's a lot of heavy-duty work that they're doing when they're using this item analysis, because what we want to do is then boost student outcome to make sure that we're making those changes that are needed. In the future, we're hoping to do more action plans. Actually, we already have those, so I apologize. We have those action plans already accomplished. This was when I was going to present a few weeks back. So those are in place, and so teachers, again, will either provide support or enrichment based on their data from DIBELS and MAP. And also in the future, we will have some more collaboration with our district data team. Under that same objective, we have Initiative 3, develop the capacity to analyze and utilize relevant data to increase student outcomes. So in progress, again, having those monthly meetings, providing that time for teachers to have that discourse, and then also in the future, the goal is for me to be able to get in there and provide some feedback and coaching. My goal is to build some leadership capacity. My specialists do a tremendous job, so hopefully they will be able to take over a couple of those school-wide meetings so that I can actually kind of come side by side with teachers and be part of those discussions, which I think is very important. And then moving to Objective 3, increase capacity to provide targeted interventions and differentiated, rigorous enrichment opportunities for all students. So one of the things that we have done over the last couple of years is to come up with a very common Tier 1 behavior management system within the classrooms, as opposed to a stoplight or where there are colored cards where students can get to red very quickly. So if you have a child struggling and they get to red, you've kind of pulled the last card. So with the clip-up, clip-down system, there are approximately 6 to 8 categories, and children can move up and down that continuum throughout the day, so that the message that we're sending them is there's always a second chance and there's always time to turn it around. So it's much more positive, and it gives kids always that opportunity to make the right choices. Also, throughout the school, we're using common expectations, common language. An example, as far as voice levels, we have level 0, 1, and 2. So no matter what setting they're in, if it's level 0, that means there are probably directions being given, or maybe a student's presenting. Level 1 is more of a whisper, and level 2 is like dinner conversation that you might have in the lunchroom. Although sometimes that does shoot to level 3. We have to bring it back down. In progress, I'm very excited to collaborate with Mrs. Sharp. We're going to be doing a partnership for teaching discipline in the classroom, which is Responsive Classroom, and it is an extensive school-wide behavior management system. So it will be a through line from pre-K all the way up to grade 4. So we're going to be presenting that on the full-day PD. So we've got some work ahead of us. We're going to be heading up to Turner Falls, Mass. to get some training of our own, and we're ready to hit the ground running. So as we look as far as, let me see here, as far as being able to provide those opportunities, again, we're looking at Teach Like a Champion strategies. And then some of the areas that we're looking for, engaging all learners, because that's a big piece. When you engage all learners, you have much less discipline issues because children are engaged. Cognitively, they're with you, they're not just being compliant. They're involved in the learning process, they're excited and enthusiastic. So we're really looking at that very closely. So some of the areas we're going to be looking at even more so is open-ended questions, giving clear directions, providing high-quality feedback, and focusing on learning as a key. So currently, we're trying to, this year and last year, is to sweep this across all settings at Chafee, and then the big goal next year is to be able to then bring it into other settings that are connected directly with our schools, such as Educare and transportation and food services, so that they have common language also, and that it doesn't change just because the bell rings at 3:30. We want to keep everything consistent. And then moving to Initiative 2, providing research-based, targeted interventions to support students with academic and social-emotional needs, drawing upon student achievement and student emotional wellness. So this is where I'm very excited. We've had a lot of success with our new Compass program and becoming a safe and supportive school. Currently, we have 28 children who access this program on a regular basis, where they can bump into the classroom and then bump out. The goal is so that students are present for learning and they get the breaks, whether it's a brain break, activity break, maybe they just need a quiet break, maybe they're overstimulated and they just need to go in and just kind of chill out a little bit. So we're able to work that in. We have another 20 to 30 students that can come in randomly as teachers need them. So we have 2 Compass facilitators. They help the children kind of process, and this is a wonderful way to have a Tier 2 and Tier 3 response to behavior. On that same note, one of the things that were completed was a full-day PD by Joe Rotucia. He is part of the partnership with Massachusetts Advocates for Children with Harvard Law, outstanding presenter. Again, this is research-based, proactive measures. So instead of waiting until students get to 8 or 9, you catch them at 1 or 2 and you support them. Being a safe and supportive school is giving children exactly what they need emotionally, so that then they are able to access curriculum. Just recently, I gave a staff survey on Compass and its effectiveness, and the results overall were very positive. I also learned some key details that we need to improve upon and be able to tweak. However, overall, I believe that we're definitely supporting not just children, but we're supporting teachers so that they feel like they have a resource. If their child needs that movement break, we have it built in so that we can help them, that they don't feel like they just have to handle it completely on their own when they're trying to continue to teach. We want them to be able to have that continued instruction without disruption. And then in the future, we're hoping to bring in a new online component so that Mr. Phillips has been working with me so that those facilitators can put in all that information on the computer so that it immediately will generate the graphs and the data that we need. And also, Deb Broussard has been kind enough to be working with me as far as working with iPass, so that will give us another data entry point. And I believe I'm almost finished here. Let's see, that's one. And then the last piece, Objective 3, again, is increasing capacity in the same way, but the Initiative 3, here we are talking about enrichment programs. What are we doing to provide those enrichment opportunities? So a letter has just been generated about a month and a half ago, trying to see if we can tap the community and find out from parents, what are your skill sets? What is something that you can bring to Chaffey students that they can, participate in and learn from you? And so we have 4 or 5 different great things lined up. We want to be able to do that more. Parents have the opportunity, whether it's a one-time 45-minute situation or if they want to do 3 or 4 weeks at a time. And so I believe we have a gardening coming, we have a science club, we have a presentation on liquid nitrogen, we have a little craft, so we've got lots of things coming. Currently, we have tennis, fitness, a math club, and Mr. Targoff does a music ensemble. And as teachers are looking at what they're doing, again, they're trading off. Some are doing reinforcement one week and then enrichment for the other. And so we're excited. So if there are any parents out there who did not get that notice, we'd love to have you. We are calling this our Discovery Clubs. So I'm going to give a little plug there. We'd love to have you come on board. In progress also, as you know, I just gave them a shout out, is our advisory council, who's keeping me right on track with the SIP and making sure that we're doing what we need to do. And then in the future, I was excited to find out that Mr. Sharp was also very familiar with the 5-day model, and that's something we're both going to be trying to implement at some point during the year to really be able to focus in on how kids are doing on their assessments and how we can move them forward. And just to wrap up, 3 positives I would say so far this year. Definitely the Compass program. I'm very excited. I'm very appreciative to Dr. Garceau and our SPED director for getting behind it. Although it is a general ed program and it's for all children, I had their support in initiating this, and I believe it has really made a difference in culture and climate, and it's just going to continue to get more and more impressive as we go along. And then our second one is the early literacy grant. Very excited that the governor awarded to Oxford. It's called Focus on K2. It's approximately $82,000 total. We're working in collaboration with the FLAT Collaborative and the DESE Literacy Coach, and that money will provide coaching, classroom materials, training, and stipends for up to 57 hours of outside the classroom, outside the working day for those teachers. And I will tell you that kindergarten teachers have just taken it by storm. We've already gone through 3 days of full training, getting ready to go to a full day on-site at Boston Public Schools. I think we've got a lot of great things ahead of us. Again, it's research-based. And last but not least, I have to say that my teachers are truly building and expanding their toolkits. They're using very strategic, purposeful planning. They're differentiating their instruction. They're putting forth their engagement strategies. When I walk through those classrooms, I see so many great things happening. I see a lot of visible learning. It's there. I hear it and I see it, and I'm really proud of them because we are in some challenging times, and they have not missed a beat. So for that, I am very grateful. And I just want to thank you because that Wonders curriculum is solid, and it's giving us the opportunity to be able to do the work with the ELA shifts and to get our children where they need to go. So thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Parmley. Mr. Spitz?
Oh, yeah, thank you. That's all right, I wasn't looking.
Questions?
I just have a few comments, actually.
Sure.
You're in progress with the parent letter that went home about a month and a half ago. What really was the response to that? I mean, did you feel good with the parental response, or is this something we need to keep pushing to?
I think we need to keep pushing. I believe I got 5 responses.
Okay,
And so I would like to see at least 25 responses.
okay.
Just because I just know that there's just so many wonderful people out there in the community that have a lot
I
to bring to
agree.
the table.
I agree. And secondly, I just wanted to say, this has been one of my big things on the committee, is that, we put these together, and then we don't revisit them with you. And I'll tell you, this is beautiful. This is really great, because it gets me to be able to see exactly what's in progress, what's been completed, where you're heading, where's the direction of the school. So I can't thank you enough for taking your time and coming in here and letting us know where we are.
Oh, well, thank you. It's my honor. Thank you.
Mr. Coonan?
Thank you. Welcome back. Just have a couple takeaways and comments, questions.
Sure.
First of all, just reading this, wonderfully put together, and the explanation was wonderful. And a couple thoughts that came out of it is the whole philosophy that, yes, every student, every child does learn so much differently. And that's what's so evident through here, is that the differentiation instruction, that there's different, building the toolbox. And that's what the community doesn't realize, is that, 99% of the kid gets it. Well, we have a lot of 1%ers. And they don't come from that 1% that the news talks about. Every child learns so differently. And what the lessons in this piece was all about 2 main focuses: getting the child organized and building the growth mindset.
Absolutely.
Yes, so I
Absolutely.
do applaud you for that, and that's what I pulled out of here. Just a couple questions is, PD is huge. And there's always a challenge of meeting every teacher's needs. When we come, just like our students, same with our teachers. Who plans the PD? Is it by you, and then who delivers it?
It's really a collaboration, so when DSAC is involved, it's a collaboration with the administrative team, looking at what do we feel like would be helpful for our teachers. As you know, if it's not considered valuable, then it will go by the wayside. So really trying to listen to the teachers and also looking at our SIP and the AIP, what aligns with that. But as we're looking at the different strategies for engagement and different exemplars, my hope is that as teachers go into that PD and then leave, that they can take something away that then they can turn around and bring into their classroom the next day. As having been a teacher for a long time myself, I wanted that PD to be valuable. So as far as the building-based PD, really trying to look at what kind of falls under this umbrella and how can I make it have purpose in the life of a classroom.
To clarify on that, is there support when things come in, like different, has gone to so many different conferences and focus on instruction, like, this is great, but can I really do this in my classroom? Do I have the support to sustain this program?
Well, the goal is that they will get the support. The big piece with PD is the coaching.
Okay.
Because otherwise you can get a lot of information and that you've got a lot to process, but then you need to be able to have someone come beside you and coach. So my goal is, as the year is going this up, as we're winding towards the second half of the year, is to be able to get into those classrooms more often and be able to provide the coaching and the support that teachers need and they deserve, to be able to hold on to that PD and to be able to give them the feedback that they need to know that they do have the support. But that is always going to be the challenge, realistically.
Right. Great. And then the last thing, PLC, does that revolve around common planning time?
PLC, it could be during, when I take Kid College or I do the school-wide assembly, we basically go back and forth. They can either do PLC, which is that whole data-driven item analysis work, or common planning. They also do some of their common planning at their grade level meetings. So trying to let them flip back and forth, because that common planning is so important, and we need to be able to build that in. Again, being able to provide that as often as they truly need has been the challenge this year. And so we're hoping to be able to expand that as we build the leadership capacity so that we can do it more often.
Realistically, an hour, 2 hours a month?
Realistically, at the beginning of the year, it was 45 minutes once a month. Then we moved into, right now, we're trying to do it twice a month, so it's every other week for 45 minutes. Although they do get their common prep, it is not for common planning. But I know by having that, at least it opens up opportunities to be able to open the classroom door and have those academic conversations, because everybody's available. So it's not, set aside for planning. That is their prep time. But I think it definitely sets up that model that allows them to be able to have conversations if they need to.
Thank you, Mrs. Parmalee. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mrs. Griffin?
Just to clarify, you're saying 45 minutes 2 times a month is it's their prep time, but it could be common planning time?
No, they get prep time every day, 45
Okay.
minutes per day for common prep. But common planning is different. It's a difference in the contractual language. So that common planning, to where they come together, they have that discourse, and they meet and they plan, that is only when I can provide coverage for them to have the ability to do so, as well as their grade level meetings.
Okay. What could we do to, work on that in our budget to make sure that happens in the future?
That is a very good question.
Yes.
That is a very good question. One thing would be strategic planning of the day, but also as far as how we would do it, because the biggest piece is coverage, and we don't want to just give coverage. We want it to be academically stimulating for the children. We don't just want to fill up time. So all of those pieces, but I would say at this point, it's more the coverage. If I could give it to them every week, I absolutely would.
Right.
If I could kind of split myself in half, I would do that. So I think moving forward, I know that's a priority that we've talked about, that we want to be able to provide. So I think we're just going to have those creative conversations.
But it would require like a strong group of specialists, for example, or something to that, where we don't cut back on things like that. And then we
could go a
you'd be
lot of
able to do
different
that.
directions. Like when I do Kid College, I could not do the school-wide meeting the beginning of the year, because we're talking a lot of little children. That's a long time, 45 minutes. So doing Kid College is one creative way that you take one grade level or 2 grade levels at the most at a time, and you can provide that, and then you host it again a second time. So that's another way we
That's
could
one
do it.
creative way. I appreciate that you're looking for those creative ways to make sure that our teachers get what they need and ultimately our kids get what they need. Another follow-up question, if I might, in regards to the Compass program. I think it's outstanding. I'm curious to know, on average, those students that leave, about how many minutes per day are they out of the room?
Well, it depends on each child, has a customized amount that they go in. But basically, they leave the room, they come into Compass, they set the timer for 6 minutes.
Okay.
Then the timer goes off, they can ask for an additional minute, so it's 7 minutes. So I would say approximately travel time back and forth, it's 10 minutes.
Okay.
However, we have a few of our kindergarten students who can go in there 3 times a day.
Okay.
But, we do have the teacher support on this, and what I'm trying to stress is they may be out of the room for 10 minutes,
Okay.
but the result is that then they come back and they're present for learning. Now, that's not every child. Some children have a hard time
Right.
getting back in that whole transition. But as a whole, when we look at all the children involved, we're finding that they are able to make that shift. Also, teachers have been incredibly creative. We've got movement stations out in the hallways in the kindergarten wing where children don't necessarily have to go to Compass. They go out, they pick their 3, they do their 3 deep belly breaths and then back into class. They carry a jug of pirate juice from one class to another, anything to give them opportunities for movement. And then many of the teachers now have quiet areas in their room where a child can say, "Can I take a break?"
That's excellent.
So we're trying to come from all different angles to make it safe and supportive.
So at the max, they're only out of the room 21 minutes or so per child?
Pretty much, unless they're there for, we have very few children that are going out 3 times a day. Usually it's once or twice a day throughout the week.
And the only reason I'm asking is I want to make sure that our programs are in alignment with the new regulations from our state.
Absolutely.
Those particular type of programs. It's nice to hear that they are. So thank you to you and all your teachers for doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
Any other comments from the committee? I'll just say, Again, I think that this is wonderfully put together. The updates are great. What I like most, I think, about it is the creative ways of getting in the PD with the teachers, you splitting the staff meeting and making sure that you're reinforcing those concepts. Or I think that's wonderful, because what I heard a lot when I first joined the committee was that we weren't doing enough to provide our teachers with the time that they needed to collaborate with one another, and anything that we can do creatively to allow them to come together, and I think it's only going to benefit the children, so thank you. And when you talked about the levels of volume, I just have to say to everybody, I was at the school when we did bingo for books, and it's amazing to me. I mean, all the parents are there, and the kids are, and Mrs. Palmley just gets up and starts, doing this with her finger, and all of a sudden the kids are quiet. I said, geez, I wish I could do that at home. But it's really wonderful. I mean, even at that late hour, the kids still, they saw you up there and they just zipped
They
right
know,
up.
but
and-
truly, it's a team approach. It's not that I'm magical, it's because I've had all the support of my staff doing it across every setting, so they know it.
Well, sometimes I like to
exciting.
think that you're magical, and it's really great. As
You go ahead
most of
and
the
think that.
teachers, yeah. Sometimes I'd like to bring you guys home to help me wrangle in the kids, but thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and Ms. Sharp, is it Miss Sharp? Miss Sharp?
Mrs. Sharp, yes.
Mrs. Sharp, okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you.
Well, welcome again. We're looking
Thank you.
forward to, I know you haven't had as much time to digest this as
7 weeks, I'm on it. I want to first say, before I talk about our school improvement plan, that I want to thank the administration and the central administration, my colleagues, and also my teachers and the parents I've been very warmly received here in the community, and that is a huge bonus, coming in the mid-year and trying to hit the ground running and knowing that you have the support from all the areas is huge. And so I'm very, very thankful for that. And I'm really, really impressed with my teaching staff, because they are so open-minded and they are so ready to make some changes. And change can be a very scary thing, and yet some of the changes that I've come forth with have new changes, and yet they've been, let's do it, let's go forward. And one of those things that I am going to speak about a little bit that ties into my school improvement plan is we have just made a major change to our overall schedule. And honestly, coming in, you would think, okay, it might be a good thing to sit back, kind of observe, and I did that, and in doing that, I saw there was a real need for that change. So working with my school leaders for our grade levels, and then coming and having those conversations with the teachers, we were able to set forth a new schedule where we will start next week, which is really important, because one of the first things coming on board that I did was really working to do the item analysis with my team. And in doing that, we needed to do that for our MCAS testing, because that has been a grave area of concern for our school. And so in doing that, we were able to see that in our areas of mathematics, we really wanted to give the most attention we could to that area. So now we've changed so that we're now going to offer mathematics in our schedule in the morning, where it had predominantly been in the afternoon. We really wanted to zero in on the energy level, the attention, the engagement for our students. So that's a big change that the staff, to have that, someone new come in and say, hey, by the way, I want to take our schedule and flip it all around, and them not run for the hills, is huge. So that's a big, big plus for my school. I want to just say that this improvement plan that was approved last June, I believe, and has been in progress, we have not had, at this time, an actual improvement team. And the reason being that the team that had wrote this plan had finished their term last year, and a new team was not in place. So I'm in the process of assembling that right now. But in saying that, that doesn't mean that the plan left to the side and these things weren't moving forward. We are in progress on most of the initiatives that have been listed here in the plan. So I'm happy to say that we are moving forward, and if we're not, we're on our way. We're on step one, but we're going to get our way forward. So it may be a few steps behind, but I'm quite confident that we'll find our way forward. So in looking at this in our improvement plan, I think it's important to say, first, the theory of action at Clara Barton. We are working towards improving student outcomes. In order to do this, we believe it is critical to continually work towards developing a solid understanding of the whole child. With this philosophy in mind, we have created our school improvement plan that will focus on providing supports and programs for all students that will enhance and improve their academic, social, emotional, and behavioral well-being. And that is a very big piece, if I may piggyback on what Ms. Conley has talked about, is the whole child, that we are not just looking at the academic, but the social and emotional, and that is gravely important if we are to have our children be successful. Because in the whole scheme of everything that we do is in the best interest of our children. And those are the way that we need to make our decisions to make sure that we are doing that each and every day for every child in our school. So the first thing being that our objective 1, and I'm just going to go over real briefly the objectives and kind of give you an overview of where we stand with these objectives, is continuing to strengthen the instructional core by ensuring access to rigorous curriculum and high-quality instruction. That work has been moving forward as we are now looking at our lesson planning, how we design our lessons, what our overall activities are, that they are standard-based instruction, that we are giving rigorous tasks and rigorous curriculum, and we are utilizing the resources appropriately and that tie together for the standards base. So we are in the process of doing that now. We've been exploring and taking apart how we are presenting our academic within our classroom. The other is developing continuing to create a data-driven culture that enables the school capacity to provide effective systems and support necessary for improving student outcomes. Data, as Mrs. Parmley has alluded to, is not something that is just we take a test and then we have this nice chart and we hang it up on the wall. It is so that we can see what our strengths and what our weaknesses are instructionally and also for our children's learning, so that we are making sure that we are providing the appropriate academic opportunities for our children. And that data helps drive our plan and our instruction forward, because now we know where we stand, where we are strong and where we may be weak, and we are able to make a plan, as we've spoken about, as an action plan. My teachers currently are doing the same as they have had their winter testing, and they are developing their action plan for their students, so that we are moving forward in that capacity. And then on our third is making sure that in preschool capacity to provide targeted intervention and differentiating opportunities for all students. We need to make sure that all our students are afforded the opportunity to access the curriculum appropriately, and that we are devising up our Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3 interventions, so that we are developing individualized instruction and interventions for our students. It's not one size fits all, but meeting the needs of the children, their individual needs across the board. So that is an area that we are continually working towards making a success for all our students, so that everybody can be involved within our school community. So I'm not sure if it would benefit if me going through and looking at all the different, if you would like me to go through all the initiatives, being the seventh week that I'm here and we're just moving forward, and I'm not going to tell you that that we have a committee in place to push forward, but I do know as I went through, we are already on target and moving forward on a lot of the initiatives. As I said, I'm very proud that people are very open-minded, that they're open to change, that everybody's focus has been overall our children. And like I mentioned before, the social and emotional, I'm working with Mrs. Parmley, we're going to be doing the responsive classroom, the PD, but also I saw a need as I came in for our children to be celebrating what we do well and making sure that children, when they're doing the right thing, they're being rewarded for doing the right thing. So I'm building in the bucket program, the bucket building program in our school, so that students will be recognized when they do individually things for themselves, they do above the expected behavior, but then also that classes are being recognized when they're doing the right and correct expected behavior and beyond. So we have built in some programs that are going to be starting within the next week or two, and I've seen a lot of positive responses to that. I've also seen in the 7 weeks that I've been there is that we need to bridge our communication with our parents and with our community. So we are doing a monthly calendar that goes out to the parents so they're aware of all the events that happen within the school, any of the professional development days, any of the half days, because there is sometimes confusion with that. So it's another way to do an outreach overall. And it's just been something that is an ongoing building process, because it really is about finding out what we need to be working on overall as a school. So it's an ongoing investigatory type situation, and I'm really proud to be part of that process.
Thank you. Mr. Smith?
Yeah, first I want to thank you for coming in. You know, we're only 7 weeks under your belt. That took some guts right there. I agree with you totally. I think it would be futile for us to sit here and go through this with you. I was just wondering if at some point, like maybe 2 or 3 months from now, you could come and actually give us, you know, where you feel we are on this plan.
Absolutely.
So that we do have an ability to kind of read what happened at Clara Barton. Is that possible?
Absolutely.
Thank you again.
You're very welcome, and you may have gotten an email that had an improvement plan that I was kind of working on my, because I was taking what we had and kind of building on that, so I didn't mean if it caused any confusion, but you can kind of see where my train of thought is going or what I'm, leaning towards going forward,
Great.
once I get my committee in place.
Mr. Coonan?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Sharp, welcome to Oxford.
Thank you very much.
As you look through this plan, and I did look through some of your notes that in the other email, and I think, okay, yeah, this is a very quality plan that the predecessor wrote with a very engaged group of parents, teachers, and under the direction of Dr. Garceau. I did compliment the plan last year. It was probably the best one that we saw, and it was a long time coming from that school. Is that you see, and you've probably seen up there, is the faculty is looking for this direction, of looking for a principal that's the accessibility that you mentioned before, even with parents. That engagement piece, I think, is the next step to bring Clara Barton forward, because there's a lot of great kids there. And there's a great faculty in that school, and if you look at the numbers, we're a little stagnant for a while. Is that really, you have a little work ahead, but you have some good tools to work with. So, welcome to
Absolutely.
Oxford and good luck.
Thank you very much, and you're 100% correct on what you just said.
Any other members of the committee?
I'm just thrilled to have Mrs. Sharp on board. This is excellent, so.
Well, to echo what the other committee members say, thank you for coming. At least you got an extra couple weeks, right? Because we were initially going to do this a couple weeks ago, and geez, you probably hadn't even had a chance to read it yet. So thank you for coming in, and we went easy on you tonight. Next time, we're going to be a little tougher about it.
Oh, fantastic.
But thank you for going over that with us, and we look forward to your update in a few months.
All right, thank you very much.
Thanks.
And unfortunately, we've kind of become the dynamic duo, so you just have to watch out for that a little bit.
Watch out.
Nice to see.
Yeah, good team.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Okay. Next item on our agenda is the Southern Worcester County Education Collaborative Second Quarter Report, and I'll turn the floor over to Dr. Garceau.
Thank you, Chairman Patar. So again, this is really just a matter of housekeeping. Our charter with the collaborative requires that we provide frequent updates. It may have been just the last meeting or the meeting before where we received an update from the collaborative, but we're kind of playing catch-up. So this one speaks to activities at the collaborative from October 1 of 2015 through the end of the calendar year. And again, just provide some overviews of the different programs that are going on there, the Grow School and some of the other initiatives, and discusses the latest happenings at the collaborative. I forward it for your consideration and really just for your information.
Any members of the committee have any questions regarding the report? Okay. And no vote is required, so we will move on to the next order of business, which is discussion of the best practices review. The copy of the report was sent out before the meeting with the joint meeting with the Selectmen and the Finance Committee, and we included a copy in your packet as well. I will turn the floor over to Dr. Garceau.
Certainly. So just briefly, the Finance Committee had established protocol that whenever there's a significant change in leadership in the town, in an office, whether it be the town manager's office or the business manager's office or the superintendent, that they feel it would be a good idea, a good practice to get into, to have somebody come in and look at the business practices that are in place, audit how it is we do business and how paper moves around amongst us, and make sure that we're in good situation there. So the town had enlisted the services of Ron Smith and Company who does just that kind of work. And Mr. Smith came in and his team met with members of our department and reviewed documents and made a number of recommendations for shoring up some of our business practices around how we track accounts payable, how we issue those, how we track payroll, and ensuring that we have appropriate backup for our payroll department, because we and the town are spread quite thin. And so, again, they made a number of recommendations based on their findings, and that was all shared out, was it last Tuesday or the Tuesday before, in a joint meeting with the Board of Selectmen, and the report became public at that time. So, to clear up any, confusion or discussion, this was not a forensic audit by any means. There is no reference of, dollar figures in here, specific dollar figures or anything like that. It was really, again, at looking at how we manage our practices, and recommendations were made. So in fact, from the minutes of that joint meeting, I'll note that Mr. Smith presented his summary and shared that nothing was found as a result of this audit that warranted any further depth looking into any kind of forensic audit. He stated that most of what he found were practices and procedures that either needed to be improved upon or established. He suggested that a policies and procedure manual be developed that includes documents outlining policies, procedures, and responsibilities. So to that end, to the development of that policies and procedures manual, a similar look is being taken on the town side to see that their business practices and their internal controls are sound and just where they need to be. And as that's happening concurrently, I'm going to be working with Ms. Folio and the town manager, and Mr. Smith has offered his assistance in that as well, to develop that policies and procedure manual that spells out very specifically how we do business and how we pass paper and how things get paid for and those kinds of things. So that work will be ongoing, and will be, I would anticipate that we'll be presenting that policy manual for the school committee's consideration and vote in the spring. Again, that'll be done in collaboration with the town, but I can tell you that, and Mr. Smith also mentioned this in his presentation, that much of what he recommended in this report around establishing budget controls and cross-training and tightening up on our stipends, grant management, and journal entries has already happened with Ms. Folio in place. There was some reference made to practices around handling of student activity accounts, which is primarily a function that at the building levels. And I've met with the principals and Ms. Folio, and we've established protocols to ensure that all those student activity accounts, whether it's sports receipts and all those things, are handled in a way that is very transparent, very clean, and very appropriate. So much of what's addressed in here has already been considered and is underway. But again, that policy manual will be in development in collaboration between my office and our office staff and our counterparts on the town side. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have about the report or next steps.
So I just want to piggyback on a couple of things that Dr. Garceau said. So during this meeting with the Board of Selectmen and the Finance Committee, I want to thank the town for going into this, and it was, quite honestly, I was a little bit nervous stepping into this meeting what the demeanor was going to be, and I have to say that overall the attitudes from all that I have encountered have been, listen, we know things weren't always great in the past. We know that there's, I think Chairman Lamarche said it several times, there's a new regime. He kept saying that term, there's a new regime. So, I'm happy that we can put to bed any questions about missing money, which we've said time and time again that there was no missing money, and we know that there are new practices in place, and that we will continue to make the necessary changes that need to occur so that all of these are addressed. Very similarly to what Dr. Garceau did with the DESE audit from a few years ago when he first joined us. My commitment to the the folks at that meeting was that there will be a regular agenda item going forward until all of these matters have been addressed, and we will expect to hear an update on what's being done to address each of these. I counted, there were 13, I don't know if I'd want to call them findings, but there were 13 recommendations, if you will, some larger in scope, and some were, rather small and can be addressed rather quickly, and many have already been addressed, as Dr. Garceau said. So I just want to say I'm happy that this happened, because now we have an accountability cut point, right? So we know what past practices had been going on that need to be changed, and now with our current administration in place, they will now be held accountable going forward, and to assure that, mistakes of the past don't happen again. One thing that I will say, Dr. Garceau, is that one thing that was mentioned in this report was that the committee should receive monthly financial statements. So for our next meeting, I would like to see that Ms. Folio has provided those to the committee, because I don't think that we've received anything for the current fiscal year. And I know that they've been busy working on the budget, but we do need to get those on a monthly basis, starting immediately, so.
Absolutely. I've had that conversation with Ms. Folio and indicated that I want to be able to report on actuals on a monthly basis. So, and as you said, Chairman, many of these things in here are low-hanging fruit. Similar to, again, the DESI report, they make recommendations. We say, sure, we can do those things. We make those changes and meet those recommendations. So we've got low-hanging fruit, and some of them, frankly, was just fruit lying on the ground. Very easy fixes. So we are on it.
And I would, in the interest of being completely open, and I'm not sure that this was posted anywhere. I think it would make sense if we could post this on our website, if you wish to put a cover letter addressing the status of some of these, if you so wish. But I think that we need to be completely open and transparent, and I know people have asked about this report, and I believe, I don't know if we need to check with the town manager, but I believe this is now a public document, and we should be completely open and transparent about it. Any members of the committee want to ask questions or address anything on here? Okay. Well, thank you. And thank you, Dr. Garceau. You did an excellent job speaking to the Board of Selectmen and the community as a whole, and I appreciate you, all that you do with that. Next item on the agenda is the indoor air quality at Oxford High School, and I'd like to, again, ask Dr. Garceau to take this.
Certainly. So as you just alluded to, with respect to the performance review, misinformation can sometimes get out into the community, and I had an old Scott grandmother who liked to say, believe half of what you see and none of what you hear, and even less of what you read on Facebook, I think would be appropriate. But there was a chain of events, and there were testing done in this facility, as there are in all of our facilities on a regular basis. But there's been concerns about air quality raised in particular parts of the building. And to tell the story and really kind of put that to bed, I would hope, it goes back to last February 26th, actually. And I can share a couple of things with you to bring you up to speed on the timeline. What I have here is an email from Terry Fike, who was with the Department of Health on the town side. And I received a call from her on Wednesday, February 25th. And she indicated that she had gotten a call from the State Department of Health because someone had contacted them raising the possibility of a concern with air quality at OHS. anonymous phone call to the Department of Health. So she said, we're going to go over and take a look, and I said, fine, let me know what you find out. So on Thursday the 26th, I received this email from Terry Fike, and it says, good morning, Jim Malley and I went to the high school at or about 3:30 yesterday afternoon. We were joined by a maintenance man who showed us through several areas of the school. In particular, we checked the library and the band room because we had received a call from the state informing us that a complaint had been made regarding the smell of mold and mildew in those rooms, making a student ill. We checked with the principal of the school before we inspected, and he said the school had received no complaints. Now, coming off of this for a second, I'll just add that we also checked twice with the school nurse to see if there had been any complaints raised or any concerns raised about a student becoming ill due to mold. She had no record of that at all. So again, the principal this had no record of any student being made ill. The nurse had no student being made ill. Nobody ever contacted my office saying my child was made ill by the mold, and on and on. Continuing with her email, she said, neither Jim nor I could see or smell any signs of mold or mildew in any of the areas we checked. We went back to inform the principal of our findings. We will keep you informed of any issues/complaints that we are made aware of. If you receive any complaints, please let us know. Thank you, Terry Fike. So subsequent to that, the town, just to make sure that, again, we were, doing our due diligence, enlisted the company of Fuss & O'Neill, and this is what they do. They go out to industrial plants, they go to schools, they do, I think they do some residential work, and they look at air quality in all kinds of buildings through a number of lenses. They look at things like the average temperature within the building. They look at humidity levels. They look at carbon monoxide presence, carbon dioxide presence, free particles in the air. Like sometimes when we're outside, you can see dust and things floating in the air. They measure for that. They measure for irritants such as mold and other natural irritants, as well as looking at things that might cause irritation, such as copying fluid or the materials that we use to clean our floors, or they look at all of those things. So Fuss & O'Neill, this nationally recognized company, came in and did their study here, and based on the findings of this air quality assessment, I'm reading from their conclusions and recommendations of the full report, which is again a public document, has been provided to the school committee. Temperature levels are within the ASHRAE recommended comfort level within the building, with the exception of one area, the circulation desk, which was noted to be slightly below recommended range. So comfortable temperatures within recommended ranges throughout the building. Relative humidity measurements were below the recommended range. This can likely be attributed to seasonably low ambient humidity and effects of the forced air heating system on the indoor environment. If possible, relative humidity levels should be maintained between 30% and 60%. All that speaks to is, and we all know this, our buildings get very dry in the wintertime. The air is dry, it's sometimes uncomfortable. That's a function of the winter. Also from Fuss & O'Neill, the carbon dioxide concentrations were within the ASHRAE recommended range. Carbon monoxide concentrations were well below the NAAQS recommended range. So carbon monoxide is the dangerous one that we have those detectors for in our buildings. They set a range on those. You'd rather have none. Like I've heard about, that was a quote from about another school today about their water situation. But you'd rather have no dangerous particles in the air, but there's a range set, and we're well below that range. So carbon monoxide is not an issue here. Within the limitation of instrumental accuracy, no volatile organic compounds were detected in the building during this assessment. The concentration of particulate matter greater than 2.5 parts per million and less than 10 per million was within the 24-hour range. Results for indoor air samples and for airborne mold showed no concentrations of concern in the areas sampled. Interior samples showed species commonly found in the outdoor environment and were present in minimal concentrations. Elevated concentrations of molds indicative of extensive and/or prolonged water intrusions were not were not present during this assessment. So based on what they found, they did note that we had some water damage, or evidence of water damage in the building. Think to last year in our own houses, where we all had ice dams in our gutters and everything else. A number of us would end up with water stains in the living room. And you prime it and paint over it, and that was it. It does not mean that there was any kind of toxic mold or lasting damage or anything else. We have had roof issues with this building since the building was built, and we are working to address those with the manufacturer and with the help of the town. But the bottom line from Fuss and O'Neill is, while there was evidence, and I'm looking, I don't see any tiles in here, from time to time there'll be evidence of water damage. That does not equate to mold. It just doesn't. So they made some recommendations about how to address the very small issues that they did find. That included replacing the ceiling tiles where that had happened, whether it was from a roof leak, or, as you can imagine, there were tons of pipes up in here above these tiles, and from time to time you'll spring a little leak and it'll show up on the ceiling. So they recommended replacing those tiles as needed, and there was a sprinkler head noted in one section of the far section of the school library that had some green type mold growth on it. Again, nothing in the air, nothing that was causing a problem in terms of breathability, but they recommended clean that appropriately, and that was done. So their recommendations were to investigate and repair all water intrusion related to roof leaks. We are working to do just that. Remove and dispose water damaged ceiling tiles related to roof leaks and replace with new tiles. If necessary, repair damaged wallboard. That work has been done. Repair and replace valves and or pipes causing the water leaks affecting the ceiling tile adjacent to room 123. Remove and dispose water damaged ceiling tile and replace with a new tile. That has been done. Investigate the sprinkler in the domed area of the library to determine if a leak is present. They theorized that that was why it was discolored. Clean areas of mold growth around the sprinkler head. Clean the HVAC supply returns where accumulations of dust are present. So again, Fuss and Neal, the national company that came in, performed all those tests and indicated that the air quality was not problematic here in the building. Also in your packets, in addition to the Fuss and O'Neill report, is an email from, I believe it's the next one in your pack, from Dick Dones, the Director of Facilities and Management for the town, who after that report issued his update indicating that all those had been all those recommendations been met. The following remedial actions, this is from Dick Dones, have been taken in response to the recommendations listed on the indoor air quality assessment conducted by Fuss and O'Neill. Investigate and repair all water intrusions related to roof leaks. This recommendation applies to the second floor space above the library. The only roof area within the library is the hard surface dome ceiling above the reading area. All other ceilings within the library and its offices are located beneath the second floor administrative classroom areas. Do not communicate directly with the roof. There was no evidence of any active roof leaks within the area of the library. With respect to repairing and replacing valves and or piping causing water leak affecting the ceiling tiling adjacent to room 123, a reheat box located in the ceiling was found to have a deteriorated cap on its draw-off cock causing a leak. The cap was replaced on March 10th. Remove and dispose of water-damaged ceiling tiles and replace with new tile. Replacement tiles were provided to the OXPS custodial staff, and any and all water-stained tiles were replaced with new tiles throughout the library. Investigate the sprinkler in the domed area of library to determine if a leak is present. All sprinkler heads were checked for leaks by the facilities maintenance staff, and no leaks were found. Clean the area of mold growth around the sprinkler head. The area around the sprinkler head in question, which is in the northeast corner of the dome ceiling, as well as a stained area around the head located in the southwest corner of the dome ceiling, were cleaned by the OXPS custodial staff prior to April 15th, when a second IAQ assessment, interior air quality, I'm assuming that means, I don't know the acronym myself, was conducted by the Massachusetts Department of Public Health. And then clean the HVAC system returns where accumulations of dust are present. Mr. Dornay's indicated that an open supply duct on the south side of the reading areas was reconnected to its branch duct by the facilities maintenance staff on March 15th. Dusty grills and registers were cleaned by the OXPS custodial staff during the same week. So Fuss and O'Neill came in so that there were no real issues, but made some recommendations. Those recommendations were acted upon as documented by Mr. Dornay's. Mr. Dornay's, to follow up, then contacted the Massachusetts Department of Health. And the Massachusetts Department of Health came in April, the report being issued in June of 2015, and basically found the same things, that we were well within all the expectations for humidity and temperature and free particles, that there was no evidence of airborne mold or any other issues of concern. It was really considered just confirming the Fuss and O'Neill report. They made a number of recommendations, and their recommendations were basically do what Fuss and O'Neill told you to do. That was the very first one, was complete the recommendations from Fuss and O'Neill. And then they issued a number of very common sense things to consider or do, much like, again, we would do at home. If you were, concerned about dust in your house, frequently dust. Vacuum your rugs, keep them as clean as you can. Avoid using feather dusters that just move dust around. Have the exterior of the building examined to make sure that our drains are functioning in the way that they should. Really nothing in here that we don't do as a matter of course, but there were recommendations in here, and again, Mr. Dornay's went through and discussed which ones were done by his office and which are just general functions of our custodial staff, things like dusting and vacuuming, maintaining the floors. There were very simple ones too about if you have for example, if you had a Poland Springs water cooler, they say don't put that on a carpeted surface, put it on some kind of plastic mat so that you're not, getting the carpet wet. But really very, very common sense things in addition to please do what Fuss and O'Neill told you to do. And the last document that I give you that speaks to this is dated 10/8 of 2015. So after the Oxford Health Department had come over and reported no issues, and after Fuss and O'Neill had come and reported no issues, but made a few recommendations, and then those recommendations were addressed, and then the Department of Health came in and found no issues, we still had the Department of Health from the town of Oxford, the health inspector, come back in, Mr. Malley, and James Malley issued this memo on 10/8/2015 regarding high school inspection/library. And what it says here is the Board of Health has received an in-depth report from Fuss and O'Neill and Viro Services LLC that outlined issues and remedies that I have reviewed. On behalf of the Board of Health, on September 23rd, I inspected the high school library as well as several other areas for the presence of mold. I was accompanied by Richard Dornay's Facilities Maintenance Director. During my inspection on September 23rd, 2015, I found no evidence of mold. So, I guess in closing, the reports speak for themselves. There was a concern raised by a person, a citizen. It's been thoroughly investigated a number of times, 4 times that I can count, and there has been no evidence of mold or other carcinogens found in the air at Oxford High School. We do have to make sure that these HVAC systems are running and that we're circulating air, that we're bringing in clean air. We do have to be cognizant about the fact that, in a lot of classrooms, I don't see any in this room, but there'll be like these rectangular units against the wall, and there were pictures in here with things on them. Kids will do that, teachers will do that too, if we don't remind them not to. The kids will come in and throw their jacket on the heating element. That obviously blocks the ability of fresh air to be able to come into the room. Or if we allow it, it's easy for paper to start to stack up on those things. So we can't do that. We have to make sure that that these things are functioning as they should, that we're circulating clean air in the building in here. Our custodial staff, while diminished due to our significant budget crisis, is doing the best they can to keep the buildings as free of dust and as clean and as healthy as they possibly can. But this is a healthy building, and that's my report on that.
Any questions for Dr. Garceau from the committee?
I just have a comment.
Mr. Coonan?
I thank you, Dr. Garceau. It's really overkill, because if you look back through all the documentation, and my children go here, I have no problem sending my daughter here. I know she's in a very safe and supportive atmosphere. The custodians do a great job, and we have so much documentation that if it goes out there through social media, that, oh, there's a problem, and everyone starts pulling the fire alarms, and that's just got to end. We have to really put some trust in the transparency that Dr. Garceau has brought to the school department, the administration, and he holds all his principals accountable, and every single employee accountable for that. So thank you, Dr. Garceau, for just to remind us what a good job that we do here.
Thank you.
It's really overkill. It's just.
Thank you. I will say that this item was put on the agenda at my request because a parent had contacted me. The Massachusetts Department of Public Health's report was shared out on Facebook, and people were contacting me via Facebook. Have you seen this? Do you know what's going on? And, it's a rather thick document. So, I politely said, after my kids are in bed, I will take a look at it tonight, which I did, and that night, and I emailed Dr. Garceau, and I thank you for taking the time to present this information. I did feel as though it was necessary to review in this meeting, just because if there are concerns that people have about the safety of their children, it's best to err on the side of caution. But reading all of these reports, I'm satisfied that there's no reason for anybody to worry. So I know you took quite a bit of time, and there was quite a bit of paper involved for us to all review this. But I think it was important for us to reassure the public that their children are safe. There's no indoor air quality issues here at the high school. Anything else from the committee? Okay, next item is implementation of transportation fees for school year 2016-2017. Dr. Garceau?
Thank you, Chairman. So this discussion I had asked to be put on the agenda because you'll recall, I believe you chaired it or co-chaired it, there was a transportation subcommittee that looked at numerous issues last year throughout the year, and when the report came back to the larger school committee, there were recommendations in there. One being about instituting a transportation policy that included fee-based transportation being provided to any students who don't qualify under the law. You'll remember that the law requires that we as a district transport all students to school in grades K through 6 if they live 2 miles, within a 2-mile radius, outside of a 2-mile radius, I should say, of the schools. We are required by law to provide transportation. So a number of districts throughout the Commonwealth in similar situations fiscally as Oxford finds itself have determined that for students who don't qualify under the law, but whose parents still want to access bus transportation, they institute fee-based transportation systems where students have to have a pass to get on the bus, and there are accommodations made on sliding scales for, based on economic need, and those kinds of things are figured out. But the question I put to the committee tonight is whether we in fact want to go down that road, because what I would request is a motion from the committee that results in some direction to me about how to set this up and either make it happen or not, and we can just continue with what we have been doing. It's my understanding that it would take approval at town meeting to institute this and establish this revolving account. But I think the first step is that the school committee has to let us know if we want to go down this road or not.
So it does not require, I've talked to Mrs. Folio about this several times, and I will forward again the document. I believe you actually forwarded a document to me from the Mass Department of Revenue several years ago. There was an article that transportation fees aren't required to be voted on at town meeting. The establishment of that account is within the school committee's authority. But we can follow up with that afterwards. But I'd like to hear from the committee in terms of thoughts about this. Does anybody have any?
Just two things. First of all, I'd like to see what the revenue, like the projections, how many students we have, and what it would be for monies. And secondly, I think where you guys kind of in between on that is that the transfer of the money from the revolving fund back to the transportation account would require town meeting vote. So to establish it, I'm not sure, but to access the money would require a town meeting vote to put the money back to the account the revolving funds actually going
Yeah,
towards.
I'll see if I can find the article
let's find
from the
that.
DOR, but I believe that the reference had indicated that transportation fees actually fall under the student activities account portion of the law, so that the account would be maintained and controlled by the school committee.
If you forward that article, I think
I'll try and
well
find
versed.
that. I believe it was you, Dr. Garso, that sent that to me.
And I believe you're right. I think there's obviously some confusion
Right.
on the play. So
Yeah.
so we can get some clarification on that. But to Mr. Cronin's question about what we can anticipate, that is another one of those moving targets, because we don't know from year to year how many students would access it. We don't know how it would change. Parents' plans, would more parents start to drive their kids, and thereby their kids wouldn't take the bus and those things. The estimates, when Mrs. Matthew was here and we first started to discuss this, and Ms. Folio agrees, is the estimates would be that it would be somewhere in the mid-20s that we might be able to anticipate year to year. But again, it would be somewhat volatile and it would change, and because of that, I would think it's not something that we could really budget for, but any revenues that did come in, we could use to offset our transportation costs. We do know what the contract with Durham costs us, or we do know what it costs Rich Doobie to do his work, and any revenues that came in could be used to offset that, thereby taking pressure off other parts of our budget.
Yeah.
So, as you said, Dr. Garso, I did chair the transportation subcommittee that met in 2014 and 2015, mostly in 2015. But just to remind the committee, some of the recommendations that were made would be that that subcommittee recommended a transportation fee for students who are not covered by the mandated school bus pickup law, and that fee would be, the recommendation of that subcommittee was $100 per student with a family cap of $200 per family. The late bus, which runs at the middle and high school, would be included in that, and that there would be no refund if disciplinary issues arose and bus privileges revoked. There were several other recommendations that committee, subcommittee made, and I believe for the most part, several of them were instituted. This one was one that we really had to put on hold because of timing. But if nobody's speaking up from the committee, I guess what I'm thinking is, we know that in the very near future we need to have a public hearing on our budget. We usually get pretty decent attendance at that meeting, and perhaps we hold our vote on that until that time, if it's barring that it would not cause any issues with town meeting, which we'll do the research on that. So maybe we can, if nobody else has anything else to say on it, which I think somebody does, my thought is that let's revisit the status of this at the next meeting. But go ahead. I'll turn it over to you, Pal.
Well, I know that, we're in a situation where it's going to be tight again fiscally this year, and it's something that we need to possibly consider sooner than later because of the way things could possibly shape up for our budget. So if there's a deadline or anything like that that we need to be aware of to make sure that we don't drag out this and limit our opportunity to receive these funds, I think that's something we should really be aware of. It could be the difference ultimately if, the money was put back in the budget of a teacher.
No, you can't do that.
No, I'm saying to offset things,
No, you can't. You can't use transportation money
but
to go back into our budget. It has to be used for
just
transportation.
for transportation. So, all right. So thank you for clarifying that. So it'd be interesting to understand how that would all work out. That would be,
Respectfully, my
appreciate knowing that
research
more.
has indicated differently. So I understand that as a community, we have, in past, the town meeting votes typically two numbers for us. One is for general school, and then the other is for transportation. And I understand that that's been done. However, my research of the Mass General laws and discussions I've had with MASC and several others, in fact, indicate that town meeting appropriates the dollars, the total dollars. How those dollars get divvied up, meaning our budget, falls under the committee. So that's my research, and I'd be happy to share that along with the committee, but I'm not exactly sure.
transportation and
No, I'm not
Transportation
quite
is-
sure on that.
Because they're separate articles.
They're totally separate.
Separate articles,
articles.
and that's certified by the Secretary of State.
Right.
Okay, go for it. We have, the school department omnibus budget. Here's our number. Transportation is separate. And anything that involves revolving funds, like the inspector of wires, your dog catcher, those are put into a fund for a purpose, and town meeting should appropriate that back.
So
So
if
we
we-
really need clarification before we
and
go
so if we
forward.
captured this extra money, I'd like to know for clarification, what would that do for us ultimately?
So we have a little bit of research to do, and we'll report back at the next school committee meeting. I know that this has been an area, quite frankly, I've had a little bit of confusion over, but again, my research has seemed to indicate that even though town meeting appropriates it for a particular purpose, that the committee ultimately decides how the funds are going to be spent. So, again, I think we need clarification, so I'll work on getting that between now and the next school committee meeting.
you.
And
Thanks.
share that with the committee. All right. Next item is updates to the policy subcommittee members. Mrs. Ennis has resigned from that subcommittee, the policy subcommittee. In speaking with Mr. Spitz, I don't think that it's necessary to replace a school committee member
I got a great group.
at this time, so I would like to entertain a motion to remove Mrs. Ennis from the policy subcommittee.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? All right, it passes unanimously. Mrs. Ennis, thank you for your time serving on that subcommittee. Next item is also the negotiations subcommittee. Mrs. Ennis is also coming off of that committee, and I would like to ask a member of the committee to join Dr. Garceau and I as we plan to open up negotiations with the OEA, believe, starting in March at some point.
Yes.
I don't remember the date off the top of my head, but we will be meeting with them a few Thursdays. And I'd like to know if any members of the committee would be willing to assist with that. We'll be meeting at, I think, 5 o'clock, like every other Thursday.
I can't.
Can't. If you want to get back to me, maybe we can put this on the next. I have someone in mind who might be willing to, but it's really, it's I believe it's the largest labor contract in the community, and it's important that we have a lot of representation to ensure smooth negotiations. So what I will do then is put this on the next agenda, but I will ask that we entertain a motion to remove Mrs. Ennis from this negotiations subcommittee.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The records show that it passes unanimously. Next item is to ask that the committee consider the resolution calling for full funding of the Foundation Budget Review Commission's recommendations. So I'm just going to read this resolution. Whereas the Massachusetts Foundation Budget Review Commission identified 2 areas, employee health insurance and special education, where the Massachusetts Foundation budget significantly understates the true cost of educating students in the Commonwealth and has failed to keep pace with rising costs.
Excuse me.
Whereas this underfunding means the cost of providing a quality education has increasingly been borne by local communities, most often at the expense of other vital municipal operations. Whereas investing in education today leads to higher incomes and thus less investment in police, prisons, subsidized health care, low-income housing, welfare, etc. in the future. Whereas state and local economies are most effectively strengthened by investing in education and increasing the number of well-educated workers. Therefore, be it resolved that the Oxford School Committee calls on the Massachusetts Legislature and the Governor of Massachusetts to fully fund and adopt the recommendations of the Foundation Budget Review Commission in the immediate future. The rationale is that the Foundation Budget Review Commission was established by the legislature in the fiscal year 2016 budget and was charged with examining the Foundation Budget Chapter 70 formula. The formula was first established as part of the education reform legislation in 1993 and has not been thoroughly reviewed or updated since that time. The Foundation Budget Review Commission, or FRBC, found that the current formula understates costs significantly in 2 areas, employee health insurance and special education. If the recommendations of the FBRC had been implemented in the FY16 budget, state funding for education would have been about $500 million more than it was. However, if Chapter 70 reflected the true cost of education, the number would be closer to $2 million.
$2 billion.
$2 billion, thank you. Spending by school districts over the required net school spending amounts has increased as a whole for more than a decade, indicating that communities are using local property taxes and diverting funding from other portions of municipal budgets to fund their schools. In FY14, the total spending above foundation in the state was $1.7 billion. At the same time, the state's commitment to municipal aid has declined. Since 2001, unrestricted local aid has been cut by 43%. The net effect is a combination of cuts to local and school services and an increasing reliance on the regressive property tax. The evidence overwhelmingly establishes the correlation between a well-educated workforce and higher income individuals. States that invest more in education have a higher paid workforce. Also, states that increase the level of education of their population see greater productivity and higher wages over time. The link can then easily be made between higher paid individuals and less reliance on various forms of government assistance, as well as lower rates of crime. A state's high school and college attainment rates are important factors in the state's overall economic strength. Additionally, investments in education can have significant long-term impacts on state and local economies, as well-educated individuals tend to stay relatively local and contribute tax dollars to the state and municipality in which they reside. In general, the taxes paid over time by these individuals are substantially higher than the cost of their public education. I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the resolution.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 The record show that it passes with 5 in the affirmative, and I will let the committee know that I have sent the resolution to our Finance Committee and Board of Selectmen and asked them each to take it up in a future meeting and have offered to present at the meeting if they would like me to. And I will make sure that our local legislative representatives are aware that we passed this motion this evening. Thank you. The next item is email retention, and I will turn the floor over to Mrs. Ennis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am interested on how the emails that go through the OXPS system are stored, who has access to them, how is the access gained. The reason that I'm asking is I was called 2 weeks ago by the Ethics Commission. They thought that I had violated some ethics, which were unfounded after the conversation between myself and the attorney were through. After thinking about everything that he had said and all the information he gave me, it became very clear to me that someone had tapped into my emails. So I guess that's basically it. I'd like to know who has access to them, and if a member of the public wants them, how do they get them? Who's tracking, who's looking at them? Where are they stored? And basically, what is the chain of custody?
Thank you, Mrs. Ennis. Since you did provide me with that information ahead of time, I did forward it to Dr. Garceau and ask him to be prepared to provide a response.
And with all this paper here, I am trying to make sure I have it in front of me. But in response to the chain of custody, for all record requests, the superintendent is the keeper of the records. Any requests come to me through my office. With regards to emails or any documents that document communications between and from members of the school committee, I can tell you that those are considered public records, and one would have to just file a request for public records. Emails are stored on the Google server and are archived there for, I believe it's 7 years for employees once they have left us. And the person who, if need be, would access those emails would be our Director of Technology. And any time a request was made for public records, that would be passed on to the Director of Technology. He could access those documents as well as anything else on the Google Drive. And when that happens, an audit trail is created.
Who has access to the audit trail, Mr. Chairman?
To the superintendent?
The Director of Technology would have that, creates that. Only he and I would have access to that. But again, the audit trail itself, I would think, is a public document.
I'll be making a request to see the audit trail in regard to any of the emails that I have sent out through my term. So I would like to see if anything has been sent out for the past 12 years that I've been on the committee. So obviously somebody was trying to jam me up, whatever, do whatever. It's happened many times. But enough is enough, I think. So I would just like to have that information. I'll put it in writing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Ennis. Let's see. Next on the agenda is out-of-state field trips. The Oxford High School Student Council is seeking approval for the trip to the MASC State Conference in Hyannis on March 9th, 10th, and 11th. There's
Hyannis is out of state.
Pardon?
Hyannis is out of state.
But Hyannis is not out of state. Doctor?
Going
It's
over the
overnight.
bridge, Bill?
Because it's overnight.
It's overnight, that's what's here.
Oh, overnight, yeah.
Oh, right, so they're seeking our approval because this is an overnight. The agenda item said out of state, thank you. So any members of the committee have any questions about this for Dr. Garceau? Hearing none, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the field trip.
So moved.
A motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I have to abstain.
Any, hearing none, I'll take the vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Mr. Spitz? Let the record show that the field trip is approved with 4 in the affirmative and Mr. Spitz abstaining. Moving on, information and proposals from subcommittees and study groups. You're up, Mr. Spitz. You're the only one here.
Okay. We have nothing new to offer you from the School Operational Needs Committee. We've only had the one initial meeting. I'm sure we will be doing more with that, but presently we have not met again. The Policy Subcommittee, I planned this week to have at least 3 policies. This committee I have is great. They really have been very, very active. We've done a tremendous amount of work with their help. And I had planned to put them all together last Wednesday, but we canceled the meeting for the budget meeting. So hopefully this week I'll be able to put some together and send you a request to have those read to the committee for the next meeting.
Thank you. Just on your Operational Needs Committee, do you think that we should have any type of joint meeting with the school committee and that committee?
I don't think yet, but that could very well be a possibility as this progresses.
Okay.
And I think it would be a good idea if we did at
Great.
some point.
Thank you, Mr. Spitz. From our superintendent, Dr. Garceau.
Thank you, Chairman. I would just like to congratulate the OHS Student Council on a very successful blood drive last week. We also had a highly attended and very successful science fair that was held on Friday of last week. I'd like to thank Ms. Parmalee and Mrs. Sharp for their presentations this evening, and Mr. Doobie for coming out. And I wanted to also highlight, and these were provided to you in your packets, Jason Blau, a writer with the Webster Times, has established a series called That's a Picture. And he's going to be featuring up to 15 Oxford students over the coming weeks. And 2 of them were provided to me, 2 articles were provided to me by Principal Tebow. One that highlights the accomplishments of Nicole Grady and is an interview about the role of athletics in her high school career. And the second one is about a young man by the name of Noah Kirsting Mum. And that may have been his sister who was here earlier. It's unfortunate. But Noah is somewhat of a world traveler, I guess. But we're very, very grateful to the Times for having the coverage in place, and we just thought you might enjoy reading these.
Thank you.
And if I'm not mistaken, there was one more article that featured a student, maybe about a month or so ago as well, from Oxford.
So we'll try and make a habit of getting those in your folders just so you
Yeah.
have them.
This is outstanding.
And perhaps we could invite these young adults to a future meeting and hear about their experience, and personally, the committee can personally congratulate them on their good work. Let's see, from school committee members, Mrs. Ennis?
I just want to congratulate the girls and boys basketball teams for their outstanding season so far. The last game was a nail-biter for the boys at the Clark Tourney. That was something. So, on to districts, and we'll see how it goes, but they'll always be champions. Their sportsmanship is just outstanding. And that's all I have. I wish them all the best.
Thank you, Mrs. Ennis.
You're welcome.
Mrs. Griffin?
I'm all set this evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Spitz?
All set.
Mr. Coonan?
Thank you, Mr. Bitar. Well, I did have an opportunity on Friday, being that my school was closed and Oxford High was in session, to attend this year's science fair. Saw some outstanding projects. One of the nice things too, like I said, I very rarely have an opportunity to come into a class, come into the building during the school day. We saw that, so we came by, I talked to, did an email to Mr. Tebow. And the nice piece about it, when I was in the gymnasium, I was met by Master Chief David Youngsman, and he showed me around some of the different tables. It was great to have a faculty member with you as you're going through the building and interacting with the students, and you saw the high level of respect that the Master Chief carries with the students as well, too, is they were very engaging, and they were very quite vocal about the great research and the self-learning piece of completing the science project. So I do thank Master Chief for that, and I enjoyed being here Friday. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Coonan. I feel like I've been running around in circles lately, but we, again, did have the joint meeting with the Board of Selectmen earlier this month, and one thing that I just wanted to reiterate is to thank the town and to thank the public for, continuing to support the schools. One thing that kind of stuck with me was the auditor kept saying, trust but verify, and being that I work in a bank, I have this kind of innate, I don't trust, I verify, and that's what I said at the school committee, at the Board of Selectmen. So just continuing to not just trust that the way that we've always been doing things is the correct way of doing things, and to research things and look into them, much like the discussion that we had about the fees at town meeting. And it could very well be that we have the right understanding, or it could be that maybe things could be done a little bit differently. So I look forward to continuing to delve into those types of things and discussions. I also am involved with the town's master plan update committee, and a week from tonight we'll be meeting, there's a public meeting here at the high school. We're really looking for engagement from the community that will guide the work of the master plan update committee in terms of what is important to the residents of Oxford as we develop the master plan going forward. And there's a lot of things for people who care about education in this town that you should come and let your voice be heard, and make sure that that committee is aware of our wants and needs for the town as a whole. But part of the discussions is infrastructure, economic development, recreational space, all things which, quite frankly, can be very important to the school department as well. So I encourage everyone to come out. Again, it is next Monday. It's Leap Day. There's signs up all over town. Their red ones have been out for a few weeks, and the blue ones went out, I think, this morning or last week, maybe on Friday. So I'm looking forward to having a strategic vision for the town that is updated. The last one that we had, I think they said, is from like the 50s or 60s or something. It's a quite outdated document. So also, I'd like to thank our state senator, Ryan Fatman. He's had some ongoing discussions with Mrs. Griffin and Dr. Garceau and I about things that we can do to help our budget going forward, and he's given us some good ideas that we need to continue to look into. And I've also had the opportunity to speak to the town manager about our budget and how he views what things will, how things will play out. And we have obviously had some discussion at the school committees, I think going back years, about the possibility of pursuing a Prop 2.5 override, and that's discussion that the committee still needs to have, and it will be on a future agenda if the committee so chooses. But I will say that the town manager did say that regardless of how the committee chooses to move forward on that, that will not change his plans in terms of how much of the unrestricted general government aid we would be getting for the next fiscal year. So, he wouldn't look at that as a negative in terms of wanting to pull back additional UGA funds if we choose to go for an override. So I think, everybody needs to be aware and understanding that there's a lot of needs in the community, and and that the dollars are spread thin, so. That's all I have for this evening. Any topics for future agendas from committee members? I'd like to open the floor. If anybody has any questions or comments that they'd like to make? Nobody's jumping up, so I will close the floor, and I would like to entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Oxford boys are winning right now.
Oh, nice.